Hi, so we're here at TechCrunch Disrupt San Francisco outside of the concourse, and we've got some exciting announcembents that we're hearing. And today we're speaking to Art Agrawal. He is the CEO and co-founder of YCombinator alumni, yourmechanic.com. So let's talk about your experience about, with building the startup and how you came about with the idea.
So idea was really, I was going out and trying to figure out like what can be done in this industry because I was just so fed up with this whole repair shop nonsense. Like I just wanted to like create some place where people can go and feel like they're not getting ripped off, right? It's easy and it's like, no thinking, right? And I ran into these mechanics and met Whitney at that time who was doing mobile mechanic. And to me that was like, wow, I mean, if this thing works, it's so massively scalable. Like, I don't have to worry about infrastructure costs to build a global, car repair business, in some sense. And I worked with Whitney for many months, trying to figure out, how this thing works, like, what kind of things we can do. And then brought Michael on board, who helped us figure out, like, exactly what kind of services we should be doing, what's the procedures, and etc. And then we got into YCombinator, in January, last year, November. In January, we started. And we learned everything about web. My co-founder is super technical, but we needed a lot of help with UI and approaching the business. And partners there were super awesome. Like they helped us figure out the whole, like how do you build this marketplace? What are the things you need to think about? Very little things. Paul Graham would say, oh, these photos look awful, right? So very hands-on, and it took us a few months to build it. And now it's live.
So what was it like working under Paul Graham and listening to him and giving you advice about your startup?
It was awesome. I mean, he's a genuinely intelligent and someone who really, really understands things. Like it's amazing how quick he is. Like within a few minutes, he just gets it. And not only gets it, like he gets it more than you get it about your own business. So he'll give you advice, like just things pop up in his head. I don't know. I always call him, he's like, modern day Renaissance man, like, he's taking care of all these little babies who are building startups. So he's awesome.
So as a little baby, startup baby, what was the one thing that really stood out in your mind that you learned from being in YCombinator?
I don't know if there was like one little thing. I mean, just so many advice, like about fundraising, how to think of business, and, how to think of user acquisition. I mean, a lot of times, people are hesitant about going out and like launching and, so Paul Graham's emphasis on like, hey, you need to be out there talking to people and writing code. It's just discipline. I think that's what I learned most from him. Like, you have to be disciplined. And I still have a long way to go, but it was super inspiring to be around him.
So I think it's interesting too. Did you meet your co-founder before YCombinator or at YC?
No, I actually met him many years ago. So we have known each other for a while. He has 2 little babies who are so cute. So I'm always trying to spend more time, hanging out with my co-founder. So, no, he's awesome.
Yeah, and he does all the, you were just talking about like the building the actual platform?
Right. So he's got a PhD from MIT, like he's a super genius guy. So he built everything from scratch, like all the data problem, like he's like extremely dependable, super smart like guy. You just tell him, hey, I think this is what we should do. And it's like, okay, just give me some time and he'll figure out, just go ahead and do it. Like, amazing guy.
So it's interesting because your application actually has 2 users, right? So the customer and then the mechanics.
Right.
So similar to Airbnb and Uber. Right. What have you seen as a challenge so far in getting those 2 communities together?
I mean, so we're launching today. So we still have to see the challenge in user acquisition and stuff. I think, we tried a couple of different business models. And what we realized the challenge in this business is basically transparency. Like, I mean, people want to know a fixed price, how much they're going to pay, and it's not going to change on them, right? And mechanics, I mean, they don't like to sit there every single day answering tens of calls, calling suppliers and getting price. So the need which we saw, which was like the biggest problem to build this business, was can you build this infrastructure where you can just get instant pricing? Well, just the only remaining factor is you connect people. Right, so that's what we're trying to figure out now. Like we've spent the last 18 months really figuring out what jobs to do, how to price them, how to get the parts, how to get these guys, validated. Like, oh, Michael wants to do transmission replacement, for example. He doesn't, but example. And Whitney wants to do limousine engine replacement. Like, so how do we figure out like who wants to do what and what's the risk profile of that job, and what to offer and what not to offer. So now we're gonna see how the user acquisition goes.
Interesting. And so, were you in beta at all?
We were fixing cars from day one, so without even a website. So we've been fixing cars for about what now 14, 16 months now.
Yes.
Yeah, and we were in beta for the site was in beta for maybe a month and a half. Yeah.
Interesting. And so now you've just raised some funding, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
We raised money back in March after YC. We raised $1.8 million. All the YC people followed on, the SV Angel and Yuri Milner. Yuri was actually the first guy who said, yeah, I want to invest money. So we're very grateful to him, certainly. And then people like Jeff Clavier, who's the largest investor, lead investor, super supporter of entrepreneurs, like he's awesome. And then Mike Arrington invested money, Ashton Kutcher, and a bunch of other guys, co-founder of YouTube and co-founder of Zynga. So certainly a good group of investors.
Excellent. So what's next now and after launch is product development? What else?
Really just focus on making sure the infrastructure that we have built works before we start to scale. And once we feel comfortable enough that, hey, this thing is working, all the logistics are working, it's a very logistic-heavy business. We're dealing with millions of parts, millions of different items that we have to ship around, everywhere. Once that thing is completely working, we feel like we can just open it up and just grow as fast as we can. We're not quite there yet, just a few more months.
Excellent. And if we would like to find out more about yourmechanic.com?
Yourmechanic.com is live, so go on the site.
And the Twitter?
Yourmechanic.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Art. And stay tuned for more videos on Startuplive. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just click on the button.
Thank you.